3, 2, 1, let's go!
How's it going, guys? And welcome to Our Heads. Kyle, you just made a comment off camera that blows my freaking mind. Could you state what you just said?
Yes, for the record, I do not mean to offend anyone here. So when I was growing up in my elementary school years, at the time, I actually did not know what Asians were. Honestly, I didn't even know what anything other than just black and white. I didn't really know what that was growing up because also at my elementary school, there's only about 4 Asian American students, and it was a big school. So wherever all of them were, and one usually stuck together with the rest. So they would always be maybe
hiding
on floor 3, and I'm like on floor 1. So,
how do you know there were 4? You never saw them. It could have just been that one within multiple classes.
Oh, yeah, maybe. But no, then when the yearbook came out, I'm like, who are these people? I've never seen them.
Wait, how old were you when you saw them? When you saw them first, how old were you?
That would be like elementary school age. That would have been like 7
4, 5,
or 8.
7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7 or 8.
What's the average size for elementary school? It's like 500 kids, maybe, or what? Like
I mean, the school I went to was a pretty big school. Okay, the ceilings and stuff look like Hogwarts. Okay,
no, what I'm implying is that this school is like maybe 500 people, and you somehow knew 496 of them, and 4 of them you didn't recognize. That's what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah, and at the time, like I didn't really think about it because it's not something I care about. When I was a kid, if you were cool with me, I was cool with you. I didn't really care about anything else. And then I realized,
I understand that. I just imagine little Kyle seeing like Asians for the first time. They're like, "That's a really weird looking Caucasian man or woman." It's just what a weird looking kid.
Yeah, and of course, I wondered about the eyes. I'm like, their eyes look different from mine, but I didn't.
So did you ask somebody?
No.
So you saw it, you're like,
So how did you find out they were Asians?
It was before the internet. How did you find out?
So when I found out about the name, I'm like, I didn't have much experience on all the names of the world, but how's it? Nguyen? Nguyen. Like that sounds very different from what I was used to hearing. Like Williams or Robinson. Like that. Or even
like Blake Johnson. Some dude named
Johnny Johnson. So how did you? So when you saw a Nguyen, how did you?
So at that point, I asked, like, what is that name? And then I asked my teacher.
Who did you ask?
Actually.
Did you ask the person?
I asked my teacher.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't ask your parents or anybody? You asked the teacher.
No. I just asked my teacher about it, and she pulled me to the side. And was like, "All right, Kyle, we're gonna talk about how all the different students in school and stuff, something like that." Like,
so then did you find out about like Latinos and?
I found out about that. Yeah, like I had some idea about it, but then I found out about Latinos, and I found out, like about Indians and Indian.
Okay, so
like
that brings up a interesting topic about being what you're exposed to the area that you live in. So I was in Canada a few years ago, and I was in a McDonald's that had like a playland or whatever. This was before the pandemic. And this little kid walks up to me, and she's like, "Why is your skin so dark?" And at first I was like, "You little," but I thought about it for a minute. And I was like, everybody's different. People are born in different places. And then I found out later from her parents that they were missionaries, and they were in China for her whole life. So she had never seen a black person in her whole life. So I was the first black person she had ever seen. So, you got, it's all about exposure. So if you're not exposed to something, you're not going to know about it.
Did you say you were someone else? Be like, I'm not sure.
Because back when I was a kid, like the diversity was not that big back then.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
where was this? What area
I'll
were
just
you in?
say Virginia, still Virginia. But
Was it in
Farmville, Virginia, or something.
Yeah.
That's actually a real place, and it's super
yeah, it is
west.
actually. I've been there. It is a real place.
Was
I
it
went
so
there
was it
for,
Northern
for a
Virginia,
job.
not West Virginia?
Yeah, it was Northern Virginia. So,
Okay.
yeah, in that area.
But this was
Okay.
many years ago.
yeah, this
No, that can't be.
I don't believe you. You're right.
Virginia
Yeah, I
is-
believe him.
There's,
no.
I don't.
no,
Really?
there's certain areas in Northern Virginia that kind of get closer to the country. So, like, if I don't know.
Wow.
Like, because even
Would
at
you-
the time, like it, even like say there was a Indian community. They at the
Like-
from what
They stuck together.
yeah, like
Mhm.
they stuck together, and rarely would you ever see them mix with a
So-
African
so let me
American
ask you-
community or
Was the
things like
school
that.
was it a private school?
no, it was a public school.
Hmm.
But
I'm all
just
out
like
of,
I said, I really
I have a hard time. It's Northern Virginia. It's
Because
super
to
big.
me,
But you
Northern
gotta remember, like,
Virginia is
Northern
red-
Virginia was not always the way it is
it's
now.
very diverse here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. Even I'm impressed, like how diverse it's gone over the years. In fact, I always joke about that Hollister,
Hollister. Yeah.
how they keep the lights dimmed. I'd always joke and say, "Man, back in the day, whenever I came in, they'd always turn the lights up."
I suppose.
I think that's funny.
But yeah, so I think this part of Virginia is very diverse. There are other parts of the country that are very segregated. Like you go to other places, other states that have a little Italy, Chinatown, a place where all the Koreans live, and they
A
have
little
their
Tokyo.
own schools and stuff like that, and they don't, intermingle or whatever. Even like in New York is very segregated, because of different parts, in parts of New York, not all of New York.
I've driven to the Jewish part of it. It was kind of different. You could see the whole change in structure and such like that.
Yeah, it was
too.
actually
All the
very
synagogues and
cool to
stuff,
see
yeah.
that difference. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
just
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
When I grew up in private schools until my 10th grade.
High school.
So so they were all very diverse. Me growing up, even when I lived in Maryland, it was very diverse schools, and I even went to a Jewish school for 2 years. And it was not very diverse, but there were like 3 black people there and a bunch of white people. There were no Asians, but it was semi diverse. And then when I came to school here in Northern Virginia, then there was a lot more diversity. There were Native Americans and Indians and Latinos and people from Africa, and you just had everything, and now even more so, there's a lot of people here from, parts of Latin America, parts of Africa, parts of India, so it's a lot of diversity here now. So it's just funny to hear that you didn't know what an Asian person was.
I thought it was. It's like the most
you're
populous
that young,
race
you just,
in the entire
learn a lot.
world.
Yeah, when you
Not Northern Virginia.
I mean, not to write off of Kyle a little bit for me. I mean, I knew what an Asian person people were, but it's like I think it wasn't until high school where actually after high school I started thinking about like actually the different types of Asians. Like to me, there was
Yeah.
I have a friend that she's from the Philippines, but I could have swore she was Chinese the entire time we were friends, and we were friends from middle school all the way to high school, and then I found out she was Filipino. But I thought like it was a hard time for me to figure out who. A lot of it to me were just Chinese, if you're Asian, for the most part, because I didn't know about the Philippines, Vietnamese, Japanese, Korean.
But see, the thing is, a lot of people do stick to their own race. Like my ex was Chinese, and they all stick together. They don't hang out with a lot of other races. They hang out with other Chinese people. They don't even hang out with other Asians. They don't hang out with Japanese people.
Very
or
close
yeah.
niche of
Yeah.
group of people.
So, and the same thing with Indians. They hang out with other Indians. They don't hang out with a lot of white people or black people or Latin people. They're forced to interact with it and at work and in the stores and stuff, but they don't hang out with them.
Yeah,
So-
for that, like Indians, you would call them like maybe Pakistani, like the Desi community. So it's like
Desi,
They all
yeah.
stick together, though, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Desi,
Desi, yeah. It's just
They have their own
brown.
thing.
The brown community.
Yeah.
Meeting so many diverse people helped me understand that when someone like that kid who approached Otis comes to me and they actually ask a legitimate question, be it ignorant, as long as they're not, trying, because you
To be
can
rude.
tell if someone's trying to be antagonistic, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, why is your skin dark, Blackie?
Get over here, Dougie.
So and just the way they say it, you would know that they're ignorant, right? Like and I've had that reaction when I go to the South. Like, my wife is from the South, so we go back to see her family all the time, and we would stop at gas stations and fast food or sometimes diners, and I would get comments that kind of just blow my mind. And I would have to tell them, like, that's offensive, or you shouldn't call me that way, or like, you know what that means? That means this.
Right.
If they're being fair about it. Like, one time somebody called me Bruce Lee. Like, hey, we got to serve Bruce Lee over there. And like, they weren't trying to be offensive. They just ignorant, right? Like, they just didn't know any better. So
offended.
I wasn't offended.
It's a compliment.
And I came to the guy and I said, that's actually very bad for you to be referencing.
You
kind of
look
Asian
nothing
people.
like Bruce Lee.
I mean, that's just how you categorize people.
You look more like Bolo Young. You know who he is?
Oh, heck yeah, dude. I love that. I love Bolo.
Yeah.
Bolo it comes out. But anyways, it's a really interesting perspective. Have you guys ever had to come to realize that other beings exist outside of your own? Have you been, if you've been sheltered all your life, I'd like to hear your perspective when you've finally broken the mold. Down in the comments below. And other than that, we'll see you guys on our next drop.
Later.